Something is happening for you this month, Sagittarius, and if you have been paying any attention at all, you have already started to sense it. There is a quality to this stretch of time that feels different from what came before. Not dramatically different, not in a way that announces itself loudly, but different in that quiet, certain way that the best changes always begin. Like the air just before a season turns. Like the moment before a long journey when everything you need is already packed, and the road is already there, and all that remains is the step forward. You have been in a holding pattern. Not a bad one, not a punishing one, but a period where things have been gestating, forming, taking shape in the invisible part of your story before becoming visible. And Sagittarius, the invisible part is almost done doing its work. What has been forming beneath the surface of your daily life is now ready to emerge. And the way it is going to emerge is through alignment. Not the kind of alignment that falls out of the sky complete and finished, but the living kind, the kind that shows up piece by piece, way by way, until one day you look up and realize that your life has reorganized itself around a truer version of who you are. This video is going to walk you through 11 of the ways that alignment is already beginning to show up, and is going to continue showing up before this month is over. Each one is a real sign, a real movement, a real invitation to step more fully into the life that has always been building itself for you. Stay with this all the way to the end. Every one of these matters. Way 1. The right people are starting to show up without you having to chase them. One of the most reliable signs that your life is coming into alignment is this. The people you need start appearing without effort. Not because you posted something on social media, not because you worked your network, not because you strategically positioned yourself, but because something about your energy has shifted, and that shift is functioning like a signal that the right people can detect even from a distance. Sagittarius, you have always attracted interesting people. Your enthusiasm, your vision, your genuine love of ideas and of life draw people to you the way warmth draws others in from the cold. But there is a difference between attracting everyone and attracting the ones who are actually meant to be part of your story. And in this period, the quality of who is appearing in your life is changing. You may already be noticing it. A new acquaintance who seems to share your deepest values in a way that feels almost uncanny. A reconnection with someone from your past who reaches out at exactly the moment when you could use what they carry. A chance encounter that leads to a conversation that stays with you for days. These arrivals are not random. They are the universe responding to the version of you that is coming into focus. As you become more aligned with who you truly are, the people who resonate with that truth find you more easily. And the people who do not resonate begin, gently but clearly, to fall away. This month, pay close attention to who appears. The right people are coming. Some of them are already here. And their presence is one of the clearest signs that your life is lining up. Way 2. Opportunities you missed before are circling back. Sagittarius, you have had opportunities that did not work out the way you hoped. Doors that opened and then closed before you were ready to walk through them. Chances that seemed perfect at the time but ultimately did not materialize into what you had envisioned. And some of those experiences left a residue of wondering what might have been. Here is what you need to know. Some of those opportunities are coming back. Not in exactly the same form, not wrapped in the same packaging, but in a deeper and more evolved version. Because you are deeper and more evolved. The opportunity that showed up 3 years ago when you were not quite ready is returning now that you are. The connection that almost became something is finding its way back into your orbit with a new kind of clarity and possibility. The project, the path, the direction that seemed to slip through your fingers is being offered again, this time on ground that is more solid. This is not the universe punishing you for what you missed the first time. This is the universe demonstrating that real opportunities do not disappear when the timing is off. They wait. They evolve. They return when the person they are meant for has grown enough to meet them fully. And this month, Sagittarius, you are that person. The version of you who is ready. When something familiar comes back around, do not dismiss it because it did not work before. Look at it fresh. Look at it with who you are now. And ask yourself honestly whether this time, with everything you have learned, might be exactly the right time. If what you are hearing feels accurate, know that it could happen if you applied this energy consistently for 21 consecutive days. That is the 21-day challenge pinned at the top of this channel. It is built around daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you are tired of staying in the same cycle, that structure is exactly what has been missing. Way 3. Your body is feeling more energized and your mind is feeling more clear. Alignment does not stay only in the spiritual or emotional realm. It moves into the physical. And one of the ways it shows up is in a noticeable shift in your energy. Sagittarius, if you have been paying attention, you may have noticed in recent days or weeks that your body feels a little more awake, a little more ready. Not because you changed your diet or started a new exercise routine, though those things help, but because something has eased internally. A tension that had been quietly draining you in the background has begun to let go. And when that tension releases, energy that was being used to maintain it suddenly becomes available for living. The mental clarity that often comes alongside this physical shift is equally significant. The fog that had been sitting over certain areas of your thinking, making decisions feel harder than they should be, making the future feel less readable than it usually does for someone with your natural sense of direction, that fog has started to thin. You may find yourself waking up with ideas that feel genuinely exciting rather than just functional. You may find that problems that have been stubborn begin to solve themselves in your mind during a walk or a quiet moment. This clearing is a form of alignment. It is your whole system, body and mind, starting to orient around a direction that is true rather than working against itself. When Sagittarius is truly aligned, the energy is remarkable. And that energy is returning right now. Use it well. It is arriving for a reason. Wait for. Your creative instincts are coming back online. There have been periods in your life, Sagittarius, when your creativity felt fully alive. When ideas came easily, when inspiration was a daily visitor, when the act of making something, whether that was a plan, a project, a piece of writing, a conversation, a business, a piece of art, felt like the most natural thing in the world. And there have been other periods when that aliveness went quiet. Not absent, but muted. Working harder to produce less. Requiring effort where it once required only attention. If you have been in one of those quieter periods, you have probably been aware of it, probably frustrated by it, probably wondering when the spark would come back. Here is your answer: it is coming back now. One of the most beautiful signs of alignment for Sagittarius is the return of creative instinct. The sense that you are once again receiving rather than forcing. That the ideas showing up are surprising you with their originality instead of arriving stale and predictable. That the things you are building or planning feel alive with possibility rather than like tasks to be completed. Pay attention to what is capturing your imagination this month. Pay attention to the ideas that land with that particular quality of excitement, the ones that make you want to start immediately, the ones that keep you up a little later than you planned because you cannot quite put them down. Those are not distractions. Those are signals. They are pointing you toward the work, the creation, the expression that is meant for this next chapter of your life. Follow them. Wave 5, situations that were stuck are finally starting to move. One of the most maddening experiences for a Sagittarius is feeling stuck. You are built for movement, for forward momentum, for the sensation of covering ground and seeing new horizons. And when life creates conditions where forward movement feels blocked, where something you want to happen is not happening, where a situation that should be simple seems to keep circling the same point without resolving, it creates a kind of internal pressure that is uniquely difficult for your sign. But pressure is not permanent. And the pressure you have been feeling around certain stuck situations is about to do what pressure does when it has done its work. It is going to release. And when it does, things are going to move quickly. The situation that has been frozen is going to thaw. The door that would not open is going to open. The conversation that could not happen is going to happen. The decision that you could not make clearly is going to become obvious. This is not a vague promise. This is the predictable result of the energy that has been building. Sagittarius, what you have been doing in this stuck period, even when it felt like nothing, has been meaningful. The patience you have practiced, the integrity you have maintained, the refusal to take shortcuts that did not feel right, all of that has been working. And now the results of that invisible work are starting to manifest in visible movement. Watch for it. It will begin this month. And once things start moving for you, they tend to keep moving because movement is your natural state and you know how to sustain it. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. Wave 6. A financial shift is beginning to take shape. Sagittarius, Your relationship with money has its own particular character. You are not someone who lives primarily for financial security. Freedom matters more to you than safety in most things, and that includes your financial choices. You will sometimes take a risk that a more cautious sign would never take, and sometimes that costs you. But sometimes it pays off in ways that the cautious path never would have. And right now, something is beginning to shift in the financial dimension of your life. Not dramatically, not overnight, but in ways that you may start to notice if you are paying attention. An opportunity to earn that comes through an unexpected channel. A resolution to a financial situation that has been unresolved for too long. A new way of thinking about your relationship with money that opens up possibilities you had not considered. Or simply the sense that the ground is becoming more solid, that what had felt financially uncertain is finding its footing. Sagittarius rules the 9th house in the zodiac, the house of expansion, of travel, of philosophy, of higher learning. And one of the things that house teaches is that when you are aligned with your larger purpose, abundance tends to follow. Not because you chased it, but because you were doing the right thing and the right thing drew it in. The financial shift that is beginning for you now is connected to the larger alignment that is happening. As your life comes into greater truthfulness and greater purpose, the material support for that life tends to follow. Stay alert to where new financial energy is coming from. It may arrive in a form you did not expect. Way 7. Old patterns are becoming visible and breakable. One of the most significant things that happens when a life begins to align is that the patterns keeping it misaligned become suddenly visible in a way they were not before. This can be uncomfortable. In fact, it usually is. Because seeing a pattern clearly means you can no longer pretend you did not know it was there. And Sagittarius, you are someone who has always taken honesty seriously. Once you see something truly, you cannot unsee it. And you cannot continue doing something you can see clearly is not working. You may be noticing this now in one or more areas of your life. A way you have been relating to someone that you can suddenly see is not actually serving either of you. A habit of avoiding a particular kind of conversation that you can now see has been costing you real connection. A way you have been spending your time or your energy that made sense once but no longer does. A story you have been telling yourself about why something cannot change that you can now see is simply not true. These insights, uncomfortable as they may be, are not punishment. They are liberation. Because you cannot change what you cannot see, and now you are seeing clearly. The patterns that have been limiting you are becoming breakable, not because they suddenly became less strong, but because your awareness of them has become stronger than they are. This month, notice what you are noticing about yourself. The observation itself is the beginning of the transformation. Way 8. A sense of purpose is returning or arriving for the first time. Sagittarius is one of the signs most deeply driven by the question of meaning. Why are we here? What is the point? What does a life truly lived look like? These are not abstract questions for you. They are urgent, pressing, central. And when you do not have a sense of purpose, when you are going through the motions of a life that feels slightly too small or slightly too random, it affects everything. Your energy, your relationships, your creativity, your sense of what is possible, all of it is diminished. But when you have purpose, when you feel the arrow of your life pointing towards something real and significant, everything expands. You become more of yourself. And that is what is starting to happen for you right now. A sense of purpose, whether it is returning after a period of absence or arriving in a form you have never quite experienced before, is beginning to take shape in your awareness. You may feel it as a growing excitement about a direction. You may feel it as a conviction about something that matters to you that has recently become stronger. You may feel it as a shift in the kinds of conversations you want to have, the kinds of books or ideas that are drawing you in, the kinds of activities that make time disappear. These are not distractions from your purpose. They are your purpose trying to make itself known. Follow the excitement. Follow the conviction. Follow the sense of meaning when you feel it. This month, it is becoming clearer. Way 9. Boundaries you never had are becoming natural. Sagittarius, one of the areas where you sometimes struggle is the area of personal limits and boundaries. Not because you do not know what you want, you almost always do. But because your generosity, your enthusiasm, your tendency to say yes to things that excite you, can sometimes lead you past the point of what truly serves you. And you may have experienced the fatigue, the resentment, or the depletion that comes from giving more than you had to give in the first place. What is happening in this period of alignment is that something about where your actual edges are is becoming clearer to you. And more significantly, It is becoming more natural to honor those edges rather than override them. You may notice that you are saying no to certain things with less internal conflict than before. Not a hard or defensive no, but a clear one. A no that comes from self-knowledge rather than from exhaustion or bitterness. You may notice that a relationship that had been taking more than it gave is starting to feel less compelling, less worth maintaining at the same level of investment. You may notice that the activities or commitments that drain you are becoming easier to deprioritize, not because you care less, but because you care more about the things that are truly aligned with where you are going. This is maturity. This is wisdom. And for Sagittarius, it arrives not as constriction but as a surprising kind of freedom. When you stop pouring your energy into what does not fit, you suddenly have so much more of it for what does. Way 10. Your vision for the future is becoming more specific. Sagittarius, you have never had trouble dreaming big. The grand vision, the expansive possibility, the life lived at scale with meaning and adventure and genuine depth. All of that has always been present in your imagination. But sometimes the bigness of the vision made it hard to translate into specific, concrete steps. Sometimes the horizon was so broad that the immediate next move was unclear. One of the signs that your life is truly aligning is that the vision that has always been large is starting to become specific. Not smaller but sharper. You are beginning to see not just the destination but the actual road. Not just what you want but what needs to happen next and after that and after that. The timeline that felt impossibly vague is starting to populate with real milestones. And this specificity is actually exciting rather than limiting, because you can feel yourself getting traction in a way that pure vision alone never quite provided. This month, pay attention when your thinking becomes concrete. When a plan starts to take shape with enough detail to be actionable. When a dream starts to acquire a deadline or a first step. Those are the moments when vision becomes reality. And for Sagittarius, the ability to be specific about the future, without losing the sense of adventure and possibility, is one of the most powerful tools you will ever develop. It is developing right now. Way 11. The life you always imagined is becoming more real than imaginary. Every Sagittarius carries an inner image of the life they were meant to live. It has been with you for a long time. Through all the detours and all the losses and all the periods of uncertainty, it has showed up in daydreams and in the particular sense of recognition you feel when you encounter someone living fully and authentically. It has whispered in the quiet moments and roared in the moments of inspiration. And for so long that inner image has been just that, an image. Beautiful, felt, real in the imagination but not yet visible in the external world. What is happening this month, Sagittarius, is that the distance between that image and your actual daily life is getting smaller. The gap is closing. Not all at once, not without continued effort, but in ways that are increasingly undeniable. The relationships you are building look more like the relationships you always wanted. The work you are doing feels more connected to what genuinely matters to you. The person you are becoming in your own private moments is someone you actually respect and recognize and are glad to be. This is alignment. This is the life that has been preparing itself for you, meeting the version of you that has been preparing itself for that life. And they are finding each other this month. All 11 of these ways are part of the same larger movement. They are the universe showing you piece by piece that what you have been working toward has been real all along. Keep showing up. Keep moving toward the truth of who you are. Because what is coming is even better than what you imagined. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. Sagittarius, before this month ends, your life is going to look meaningfully different in at least one significant area. Maybe in several. Because that is what alignment does. It does not change everything at once, but it changes the things that matter first, and then those changes create conditions for the next set of changes, and so on, building momentum that over time becomes genuinely transformative. You have been asking, in your own way, for a life that matches who you truly are. Not the version of you that learned to be careful, or the version that learned to stay small enough to avoid criticism, or the version that took the practical path because the meaningful one seemed too uncertain. But the real version. The one that moves toward truth even when it is uncomfortable. The one that travels not just in geography but in depth. in understanding, in genuine encounter with what life has to offer at its fullest. That version of you has been growing through this entire period, through all the difficulty and uncertainty and moments of wondering when things would shift. And this month the shift is here. Not in the distance. Not someday. Here now, in the days and weeks that remain before this month closes. The ways you have heard about in this video are not predictions that require conditions to be met. They are patterns already in motion. They are movements already underway. Your work is simply to stay present, stay honest, stay true to the direction your deepest self knows is right. Sagittarius, Jupiter has always looked out for you. That generous planetary energy that rules your sign does not abandon its own. And right now, Jupiter is working in your favor with a particular kind of force. The expansion that is your birthright, the abundance that comes from living in alignment with your purpose, the joy that comes from a life that actually fits who you are, all of it is within reach. Not someday in the future. This month. In the days ahead. In the next step, and the one after that, and the one after that. Keep going. You are closer than you think. And the 11 ways you have just heard are all pointing in the same direction. Forward, upward, toward the life that has always been yours to claim.